All right, so in today's lesson, we are going to learn about multiplying decimals by whole numbers. So our objective is I can multiply decimals by whole numbers using my understanding of place value patterns. So in the past few weeks, we've been working on multiplying decimals using models. So let's say we were to do 3/10 times 4, we know that we would have 3/10. That's four groups of 3/10. So we have 3/10 plus 3/10 plus 3/10 plus 3/10, and we know that that gives us a total of 1 and 2/10. Okay. So we also can see that 1 and 4/10 times 2 would mean that we have two groups of 1 and 4/10. So we have 1 and 4/10 in yellow, and then we're going to also need to represent another 1 and 4/10. We're going to continue it right from the yellow. So here's 6/10 in blue, and then we have another 4/10 in the next decimal grid. So that's going to give us our one whole, and then we need 4 more tenths to represent two groups of 1 and 4/10. And that gives us a product of 3 and 8/10. So what is the pattern when you multiply a tenth by a whole number? Okay, so we should notice that the product will always be in the tenths place. So this 3/10 here is representing a whole number times the tenth, and then we have 2/10 in our product. So 4/10 here times a whole number gives us a tenth in our product. So let's continue to see if we can see this pattern. So when you're multiplying by tenths, okay, when multiplying a whole number by a tenth, like these three examples here, we can see that the pattern is the product will always be in the tenths. So what is 1/10 of this number? The product is always going to be in the tenths. So let's look at some more. 82 times 3/10 is going to be 24 and 6/10. 82 times 1 and 4/10 is equal to 114 and 8/10. 802 times 3/10 is 240 and 6/10. So as you can see, when you're multiplying a whole number like 82 or 802 times a tenth or a product times a factor that's to the tenths place, your product is going to always be to the tenths place, even if you have other digits represented as well. So 67 times 7/10 is 46 and 9/10. And as you can see, the pattern holds true. So just know that the product will always be in the tenths place when you multiply a tenth by a whole number. All right, so what about if you're multiplying a hundredth? So 23 hundredths times 4. We are going to represent 23 hundredths. That's 2 tens and 3 hundredths. And we're going to represent that 4 times. So that's another 4, another 23 hundredths, another 23 hundredths. And so that's 4 groups of 23 hundredths represented there. And that gives us a product of 92 hundredths. Okay, so as you can see, a hundredth times a whole number gives you a product in the hundredths place. Let's see if it holds true if you have a whole number in addition to a decimal. So 1 and 37 hundredths times 2. Our first group of 1 and 37 hundredths is in yellow. Okay, this is going to be continuing. So here we have 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 63 hundredths of our second group of 1 and 37 hundredths. So we're going to keep on counting, and this is going to be 60, 73, 83, 93, and then 7 more hundredths would be 100 hundredths or one whole. So we have our whole represented, and now we have to represent 37 hundredths. So that was 3 hundredths plus 30 hundredths is 33 hundredths plus 4 more hundredths is 37 hundredths. So now the blue is 1 and 37 hundredths as well. So I have two groups of 1 and 37 hundredths. That gives me 2 and 74 hundredths. Now if you notice, 100 times 100th is going to give us a hundredth. So what is the pattern when you multiply a hundredth by a whole number? The product is going to be in the hundredths place. So that has to actually be changed. Called multiplying by hundredths. When multiplying a whole number by a hundredth, we're going to have our product, as you can see, in the hundredths place. The product will always be in the hundredths place. So what do you notice here? Okay, product is in the hundredths place. 82 times 13 hundredths, the product's in the hundredths place. So I'm going to move through these, but I'm going to have you just take a look and see. You can pause the video and make sure that you can notice the pattern there. Whenever you multiply a number by a hundredth, even if it's a large number like 1,683 times 15 and 67 hundredths, if you notice, you have 26,372 and 61 hundredths. Your product is always going to be to the hundredths place. All right, so how can we use what we just noticed in these patterns to help us with multiplying? You're not going to always have numbers that are small enough, like these numbers here, right? 67 times 72 hundredths. That number is way too large to be drawing 67 groups of 72 hundredths. It's just way too large. So how can we use patterns to multiply decimals by whole numbers? So we're going to use our number sense, what we just learned. So the first thing we do is we're going to line up the numbers and multiply just like how you would with whole numbers. Okay. Step 2, observe and count the decimal places in both of your factors. Step 3 is place the decimal point where it belongs in the product, and then you are done. So remember, a tenth times a whole number is a tenth, and 100 times a whole number is a hundredth. So, for example, if we were to do 36 times 2 tenths, okay, we can set it up and line this up like we would with whole numbers. So it would be like 36 times 2, and that would give us 72. Okay, but we actually have not quite 2, we have 2 tenths. So we're going to just make sure we represent that by moving our decimal point in our product. So we recognize that 36 times 2 tenths, 2 tenths is a tenth, 36 is a whole number. As you can see up here, a tenth times a whole number means that the product is going to be in the tenths place. So that means that our product is going to be in the tenths place. So our product is 7 and 2 tenths because we're going to place the decimal point where it belongs. So if we were doing times 2, it'd be 72, but times 2 tenths, it's going to be 7 and 2 tenths. So 7 and 2 tenths is our product. All right, so hold tight. We're going to do a couple of examples together. Now, you should have some notes that look kind of like this. And at the end of the video, I will make sure that I go back, and that way you'll be able to write it down. So decimals times whole numbers. Actually, as a matter of fact, let's head back really quick just so that you can have some time to jot it down. I'll go back, you'll pause the video, and you will write down what the steps are. So line up the numbers, multiply like you would with whole numbers, observe and count the decimal places and the factors, place the decimal point where it belongs in the product. Remember that a tenth times a whole number is a tenth, and 100 times a whole number is a hundredth. All right. So pause it, make sure you get that down. Okay, now let's move on and let's go to some examples. So if I have a decimal times a whole number, this is how I'm going to multiply it. Okay, especially if it's a larger number. So let's take 67 times 72 hundredths, for example. So the very first thing I'm going to do is I am going to line these up like I'm going to multiply whole numbers. So this has 2 digits, and this also has 2 digits. So I'm going to put 67, and then I'm going to put my 72 hundredths on the bottom. Okay, right now I'm not going to worry about this decimal point. I'm just going to multiply like I normally would multiply two whole numbers. So this 0 has no value at this point, so I'm going to just erase it for now. So 7 times 2 is 14. I'm going to put my 4 and regroup my 1. 2 times 6 is 12, plus 1 is 13. I don't have any more to regroup, so I'm going to just put 13 down below. Okay, I've already regrouped that 1. Now I'm going to annex a 0, just like I would, because I'm doing it like whole numbers. 7 times 7 is 49. That's going to be a 9 down below, and I'm going to annex a 4, not annex, regroup a 4. 7 times 6 is 42, plus 4 is 76. So I'm putting my 76 down below. Next I'm going to add. 4 and 0 is 4. 3 plus 9 is 12. 1 and 1 is 2, plus 6 is 8. And 7 plus nothing is 7. So what's going to happen here? I'm noticing that when I multiply with whole numbers, I have 7,824. But I know that I didn't actually multiply by 72. I actually multiplied by 72 hundredths. So what happens is when I multiply 100th times 100th, times a whole number, right? So this 72 hundredths is a whole number, right? 100th. I'm going to also multiply that by a whole number. I know that I have to have 2 decimal places over, because it's going to be to the hundredths place in my product. So 100th times 100th gives me a hundredth. So I have to make sure I'm representing 100th in my product. So this is going to be equal to 78 and 24 hundredths. All right, let's do one more example. 3/10 times 812. Okay, I recognize this has 2 digits and this has 3 digits. So I'm going to actually, using what I know about multiplying, I'm going to put the number with 3 digits on top and the number with 2 digits on the bottom. So I'm putting the decimal point in, but I'm not going to worry about it right now. I'm going to multiply like I would multiply whole numbers. So 3 times 2 is 6. 3 times 1 is 3. 3 times 8 is 24. Okay, 0 times this whole number is going to be 0. So I know that I'm going to have 2, 4, 3, and 6. But I didn't multiply times 3. I actually multiplied times 3/10. So I'm going to take a look and recognize that I'm multiplying a whole number by a tenth. So a whole number by a tenth, okay, means that I'm going to have a product that is to the tenths place. So 243 and 6/10 is my product. Okay, so now you have some examples. Now you might want to write yourself a note that says that this is going to be tenths and this is a whole number. Okay, you might also want to write yourself a note that this was hundredths and that this is a whole number.